General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ebikolobero byakoze ku bannayuganda ebbanga eddene emyaka almost 40 gyamaze mu bukulembeze tulowooza ebintu tebimwekyukidde anti Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine president omusango gwe yateeka mu kkooti y'ensi yonna ICC n'aweerayo obujulizi obwawera ddala 215 bannayuganda abatuusibwako ebikolobero General Museveni era ne gukkirizibwa bino nno General Museveni watudde empale zitandise okukankana okubibirira anti ebigambo bitandise okufuuka ekibaluwa kibakuntumye okukwatibwa nga banna abalala abazi bakola ebikolwa bye bakwatibwa ne batwalibwa Hague ne bateekebwako envumbo nga tulaba n'ennaku zino abakulembeze ab'enjawulo mu gavumenti ye bateekeddwako envumbo kati nno naye watudde wagguma wookya essaawa yonna ebigambo byandikyuka olw'ebikolero byakoze bannayuganda ebiyitirivu omusango pulezidenti Kyagulanyi yateeka mu kkooti y'ensi yonna era z'olaba banka y'ensi yonna IMF byonna bizze bisazaamu okulagana n'okuwola General Museveni n'eggwanga lya Amerika yasazaamu okulagana yaliyo ne General Museveni mu byensuubolagana ekitongole kye bayitanga AGOA kyasazibwamu kyagenda lwa bikolobero General Museveni byazatukola bannayuganda kati nate nno kino kye yakoze kibizadde buzaazi yabadde alowooza ebintu bya musaago ate gye biggweredde maziga meereere kale kasooke tulabe katambi kano then omanye General Museveni ebye si birungi.
It's a human right for people to have access to information internationally, but also specifically also in Uganda, that all people deserve to know what's going on around them. However, we've seen a trend with the government or the regime that has been around for over almost 40 years, that when it came into power, we only had one station, one TV station, that was Radio Uganda, and of course Radio Uganda TV. But then they privatized the industry, and then it brought in all these small radios and TV stations. But however, as we saw the regime trying to stay in power, to stick in power, then they started to suppress and control all the media houses. That I remember growing up, there were these programs that we would hear, people would act like Ebimes and people would just express themselves. But as years went by and the dictator went on to have a grip on the control of Uganda, then all these things went away. A popular example is BBS and CBS, where NOP is not hosted, the president can be hosted there. We see on NBS they can bring a whole panel of people, but then they are talking about an issue about NOP, but there is no NOP person to represent a party or to give in their submissions about the issue at hand or the topic of the day. So we've seen a trend that the government has done a lot to suppress the mainstream media. So because this is a generation that's really fast forward, people decided to go to social media where they can easily get news or information of everything that is going on. And then here we saw bloggers coming up. However, since the regime wants to stay in power, now they ended up also coming into the small sector that would allow Ugandans to get information. And how could they better do it other than abducting the bloggers themselves who put their lives out there to get information, to have talk shows about these issues. Going back to the question, if people need to have trust in the government or the democratic institutions, there has not been any trust in the democratic institutions. I'll give an example of the UNHCR, where the president Bobi Wine or Robert Kyagulanyi was, and then he was even thrown out because he had petitioned over 5 years ago, and they had never even looked into those issues. So we do not we don't expect the masses to have trust in such bodies, and neither in the government that has continuously suppressed the media. So abducting or suppressing the bloggers themselves. They are restricting information to get out of there. I'll give an example. If I told you get a chance to go to Uganda and get in touch with the locals there, you realize that the things that you know the people in Uganda don't know, because Facebook is hard to access unless you have VPN. So instead, people depend on the main media streams, of which the information being put out there is censored. They decide what to put there. So we who are outside are the lucky ones who get to know of all these things that are going on. And information is really vital in a revolution or into a struggle to change power in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Conrad. You bring out very, very important points. Clearly, what comes out, what is clear is the regime trying to control the narrative in terms of controlling content, in terms of controlling information flow, in terms of controlling who disseminates this information. Much as the number is impressive, 301 radios, over 30 TV stations, 2 daily newspapers, 1 weekly newspaper. So it gives you a semblance of freedom of expression. But all these channels are tightly controlled, and most of the owners either are government agents or proxies of Museveni. So what we find is that they're just spewing propaganda after propaganda, and there is a lot of misinformation that comes with it, whether in terms of attacking the opposition as agents of colonialists or agents of homosexuals. We see this narrative being carried out very effectively. So this creates a crisis in terms of information. And you are very right. The people sometimes are not really aware of what is happening. But we have social media is an equalizer. It democratizes this inequality in terms of enabling anybody, what are called netizens. Anybody can broadcast information. And I think we've seen this very much when our president has been doing. This was particularly clear when our president was campaigning during the 2021 elections. Our camera served as our insurance, so that was good. And I think we continue to urge the citizens to play an active role in exposing, whether it's human rights or bribery or corruption. And I think we just saw recently what Dr. Spire and Sentongo and for staff what they did. So that is really, really good. Yes, let's go to Comrade Kitunzi. Comrade Kitunzi, this is about personal stories and the consequences. Can you share personal stories of abducted bloggers and the impact on their families and communities? What are the psychological and professional consequences faced by bloggers and journalists who are targeted by the regime? Over to you, Comrade. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, for the question. Yes, where do I start? I think a lot of people need to understand that we stay in contact dialogue with people who are in the struggle, especially our social media activists. I've personally been in contact with Masara. He was pretty instrumental, I think. Well, when it came to the EU-Uganda Business Forum, it was really very instrumental. But not only that, or not only then, it's been very instrumental in sensitizing anything to do with social and economic and cultural issues. Has been very at the forefront of doing that. So, and then the other gentleman is Batoke, Lutalo Bossa, who was abducted recently. And I'll give you a small story about his abduction and how we came to know that he was abducted. Pretty strange. So everyone out there, you need to understand that we just don't go from anywhere to to advocate or to sensitize our public about the ongoing unfairness in the country. We really are in touch with the people on the ground, especially those who are advocating for change. So they face a lot of challenges, some of which is pretty much constant intimidation. If you are only an online based activist, they'll always send you people who are going to be creating fear, intimidating you. Well, what gives you the right to do this? Who are you? Do you think you're going to bring about change by advocating change online? Such kind of intimidation. But there are all other issues which they are pretty much faced with. For instance, those ones who are abducted, they're at the risk of being tortured when they get incarcerated. We've seen some cases whereby people are being maimed, physical damages being melted to them. And then there's the risk of paying the ultimate price of losing their lives. I think Joe mentioned a gentleman who is known by JJ Curie. Okay, who's not advocating for the change, but it was a social media activist. Whatever he did, whatever he spoke publicly, did it deserve for him to lose his life the way he lost his life? So that's pretty much the end of the game of someone advocating for his rights, which is actually stipulated in the Constitution. So these people go through a lot of challenges, imprisonment, of recent. This year it's been actually, and the reason why we're doing this is because this year, as I think it is a strategy by the government of General Museveni and his group, that they really need to attack the people who are on the social media or who are advocating change online. Why? Because we've seen Masara was recently abducted too. We have Batoke. There's PTA who was also abducted. So we're seeing a trend of trying to stifle the voices of change, which is not a good thing. So we call upon our international partners to pretty much to call out the regime on this kind of trend. It's not good in a democratic dispensation that our country advocates for. So back to the story about the abduction of, I think, Baduke. I think I had it. He gave me a call pretty much in the morning on his way to visit Masaba. And little did we know that it was going to be abducted. So his colleagues he works with on the channel called me, I think it was 5 hours later, and they suspected something was not right. Why? Because they had expected to hear from him at least within the next 2-3 hours after his visit to the prison to pay a courtesy, visit to his comrades, Masaba. So and then I went out to my way to contact my counterpart, Sasamavi, to know whether to tell him that this is what he has gone on. They had not gotten to know the news, and then in the end, after too much pressure, they pretty much acknowledged that they had him in custody. So good news recently was released, but unfortunately for Masara, for some reason they're still retaining. PTA, we've not had much with him, so we also need to call out for his release, unconditional release. So that's pretty much what is happening on those stories. Now, to add on to that, when it comes to the psychological and consequences these people fail, you find that the families are really the families are really concerned and also psychologically tortured, in a sense that they are not. I think they've been told to not say anything. They've gone way to intimidate them to the sense that they don't like them to talk about these issues. And again, I'll give you an example with the Masaba when we were doing the first online demonstration. I had an arrangement with his brother to come and explain to the public the audio, because first they abducted his brother, fine, and then his brother, they forced him to lure Masaba, who eventually they would. So they used his brother as a bait to abduct Masaba. But when we're doing the online demonstration, we were asking him to narrate the story, because we're all online. He could sit anywhere and do that. But in the very beginning, it was very positive. He wanted to tell the public how he was abducted and how they forced him or coerced him to lay a bait of Masaba, and that's what happened. But last minute, towards us going live, he bailed out, which is understandable, because you never know what was said to him. I guess the family was intimidated that we don't want you to speak about this. And even if he was released himself, and still his brother is being incarcerated, and God knows what is going on, what is being done to his brother. So that's a kind of psychological torture. They not only abduct your relative, but they create fear to the sense that they don't want you to say anything. Right? So that's too much. I mean, probably you're better off being incarcerated than being on the outside, having to think about what is being or what your relative or family member is going through. So there's a lot of psychological torture. I would think, even if, as we speak, they are psychologically tortured until he's going to be released, and God knows in which state he's going to be in, because we've seen cases whereby the people have been released and they don't look the same as when they were incarcerated, to the extent of I'll give you an example. Segirinya was incarcerated for a case which everyone knows was fished, and then look at how he looks. He doesn't look the same guy as he went on. So those are the psychological traumatic experiences families go in. On the economic side, and trying to cater for your family's welfare, you can imagine if you're the breadwinner and then they take your man or your husband and he's incarcerated. Who's going to fend for you? Who's going to look for your family? Those are all the consequences of ongoing torture and to our citizens, our brothers and sisters. So I guess that's pretty much sums it up. But we still call upon our development partners to call out the General Museveni on all these atrocities and human rights abuse. Thanks for listening, and over to you, Joe.
Today we are unboxing
Thank you
the
very much,
GoPro Hero 12
Comrade
Black
Robert,
and a bunch
for
of
that
fun
very good
accessories that GoPro makes for this amazing camera in
submission.
Atlanta. This
Let
could
me
be
just
argued
re-echo
as
what
the
you've said.
ultimate
I
action
think the
camera that
ramifications
takes
of
your
this
adventures to the next level.
of these
With cutting-edge features and unparalleled performance, this is more than just a camera. It's a companion for your wildest dreams. So let's let's get right into it and talk about some pretty big features
most of
into
these
a
young
teeny tiny
people,
camera.
they are prime
Video
in their
resolutions on this camera
professions,
come
in
packed
their
with
lives,
options. We've got crispy clear
so first of all,
5.3K,
the
up to
economic,
60 frames per second,
economic
to the smooth
disruption
4K
that it
120
causes
and
to the
2.7K to 40
and to their
for those mega slow-mo moments.
environs, whether
Another
it's
new feature
families
is the
or
all-new
society,
menu system
they're playing
design,
a
which
very
is much easier and more
role.
intuitive than previous
And
models.
of course,
So choosing all these different frame rates
also
is
the
much
brain
smoother of a
drain that
process.
this
I'll go ahead
causes.
and
We
throw up on
cannot
the
even
screen
name how
all
many
of the
people
different
have to
frame rates
flee,
and resolutions that you can use on this camera alone.
Yeah, they have to
It's
flee
actually
and
an
hide,
insane amount. Now pair
so
all
this
of
is a
those
big,
amazing frame rates with the large image
impact.
sensor that
And
is on
it's
the
a country that
GoPro Hero
loses
12
because,
Black, and you're
if
honestly
we're
in for an
talking about
amazing experience.
journalists,
You've also got an ultra-wide
how much was
156-degree
invested in
field
getting
of view
a
in an
qualified
8:7
journalist,
aspect ratio. So
or
this means
even
more of the action
the
in every single
bloggers,
frame,
or
giving your
even
footage
the
a
netizens,
cinematic quality.
So
now
it
GoPro
is
pairs
very
all these
unfortunate,
amazing
and it
features
must be taken
alongside
very
high
seriously.
dynamic range video
It
and
is a
photos.
violation
So
of
it takes that
rights, and it must
5.3K
be
video
addressed.
and adds high
Yes,
dynamic
going
range
further,
to
ladies
capture
and
those
gentlemen,
crazy journeys, amazing everyday
so we're
moments,
really
and
looking at the
even more
role of
detail
the
where there's
international
a lot of
community.
highlights
What
and a
can
lot of
they
shadows.
do?
As always, GoPro is pushing the
how
limits
can
with
the
incredible
international
image
community
quality, even
effectively
better
pressure
hyper
Museveni
smooth
to
video
release
stabilization,
abducted bloggers
which we all know is
and
useful for those
respect
back road
press
bumpy
freedom?
adventures. A
So
feature
what
we are
role
always
do
looking for in
international
new tech is a
organizations such as
huge
the
boost in
United
battery
Nations,
life, which I can gladly say we are
Reporters
definitely
Without
getting here with
Borders,
2
Amnesty
times
International,
longer recording times
what
than
role
the
can they
previous
play
model. So you're going to get an
advocating for
hour and a
press
half at
freedom in Uganda?
5.3K
I think
30
let's
and over
remember
2.5
that,
hours at 1080p 30. So you pair
freedom
that
of
with the dual
press,
charger and
or
enduro
freedom of
battery,
information
and
is
you've got the perfect
enshrined
kit to last
in
the
our
entire
Constitution,
adventure.
Article
The Max
29.
Lens Mod 2.0 accessory is definitely my favorite. It unlocks an ultra-wide 177-degree field of view in 4K 60.
And we are
So this is
also
ensuring you capture every detail of your surroundings
protected by
while you're on your adventures. And if you pair this with the chesty mount, it keeps the viewer completely part of your first-person point of view. Another awesome feature is the Bluetooth audio support and onboard mics. So with the new Bluetooth audio support, you can connect your AirPods or other Bluetooth devices for crystal clear sound recording and hands-free voice control. So this is really useful for when you're using a three-way 2.0 tripod and you're on an adventure where you might want to keep your hands warm. Now, if you're not planning to use the Bluetooth audio option, there are actually 3 onboard mics within the Hero 12 Black. So you're still going to be creating some great onboard audio as well. And you could even use this camera as a vlogging camera.
GoPro start recording. I guess the message to the
GoPro stop recording. So we all know adventure comes with some humpy moments, which makes Hypersmooth 6.0 video stabilization the perfect match in an adventure camera. The 360 horizon lock ensures that no matter how intense the action gets, your footage remains smooth and steady. Pair this with a mount accessory and you'll be getting epic flowy footage, whether it's with the vented helmet strap mount or the handlebar seat post pole for your bike adventures. Either way, it's going to be epic. The Hero 12 Black is not just a video powerhouse, it actually crushes in photography too. So you can capture 27 megapixel photos and take 24.7 megapixel stills from your 5.3K videos. So that feature is great because when you're out adventuring, it can be hard to stop and take a photo. So no matter what mode you captured in, you can have it framed for later. In typical GoPro fashion, this camera is waterproof up to 33 feet, and with the legendary ruggedness of all GoPro cameras, it's ready to withstand whatever your adventure throws at it. So for the professionals out there, the Hero 12 Black introduces timecode sync, allowing you to wirelessly synchronize multiple cameras at once. And with GP log and LUT support, you can color correct your footage to match other log style footage. So this is great for interlacing clips together from different kinds of cameras. After you're done recording, simply plug in your GoPro, and while it's charging, your footage will automatically upload to the cloud. Then with the GoPro subscription, GoPro will send you a highlight video that lets you relive your adventure and share the fun. But without the subscription, you can always edit your video right on the GoPro Quick app, which is pretty epic. In conclusion, the GoPro Hero 12 Black is more than just a camera. It's your companion on every adventure. With features like HDR, longer run times, ultra-wide perspectives, wireless audio, and unmatched video quality, I'd say if you're an outdoor enthusiast who loves to capture the moment, it's time to elevate your storytelling with this camera right here.
You need to respect these rights. You need to release all political prisoners. You need to release Masaba. You need to release PTA. This is what we need from you to continuously work with you together. Otherwise, as you said, remind them, not only remind them, but demand that they respect they should stop partnering materials
Thank you very much, Comrade Rebecca. Very good observation indeed. And I think let's just call out the double standards, you know. On the one hand, you cannot pretend to uphold principles and values of democracy, you know, all the freedom and others. And you know, and at the same time, you cozy up with you know, with somebody who is
this is the GoPro Hero 12 Black. I got the creator edition, which has a whole bunch of extras on here. Typical GoPro reliability and quality with the best picture I've seen, all the way up to 5.3K, which is insane. And you can increase your frame rate up to 120. I think you can go a little higher than that. But the double viewfinder is really nice in case you want to do selfies. I mean, everybody uses these cameras as selfies, right? It's got the clips on the bottom where you can connect it to your selfie stick or a tripod, and the creator edition comes with a whole bunch of adapters for just about any type of mount you'd ever want to put this on. It comes with the Enduro battery, and the USB-C charging port is inside, so the creator edition actually comes with the media mount, or the media kit, which includes a microphone. This is really interesting, this attachment here, and the microphone is very impressive. We'll actually test it a little bit later in this video. This thing just slides right in here, connects to the USB, so you don't have to use that USB. You're going to take the existing cover off, just snap it in there, and then here is your USB-C. It now comes out of the side and has like a weather-resistant port. Now, with this media mount kit, it is not waterproof. It's water-resistant, so you're not going to get waterproof. Don't go dumping that into any lakes or rivers or anything. Once you put this thing on here, you kind of lose your waterproofness. But still, you can go through rainstorms and mist and behind waterfalls and all that kind of stuff. Just don't immerse. It comes with a light, a nice bright LED light with four different adjustments on here, and this microphone with a windscreen, which is amazing. And we rode this thing in 20-mile-an-hour winds with a bike going 20 miles an hour, so it's about 40 miles an hour, and I didn't hear any wind noise. It's recommended for 20 or less, but I think you can see it. Now, this mount is pretty cool because it's actually a charger and a tripod and a remote control, which will work either wired or wirelessly via Bluetooth. I believe it is called a Volta, and that is pretty cool. That is included in this Creator Edition. And you can also mount it to a conventional tripod as well. See, I broke my wrist strap already, but no big deal. So, the microphone is bypassed with this media mount, and it uses the shotgun. It's a directional mini shotgun mic, which is quite impressive. I'll let you hear it a little bit later in the video. We also got this Max Lens Mod, the 2.0 edition, which increases your field of view up to 177 degrees, and also increases your image stability, which is kooky. Pretty simple to put on. You have to twist this thing pretty hard. Hang on to your original lens in case you want to swap it out. You can do that. And you just twist this guy on and tell the camera that you have the Max Lens Mount 2.0, and it will know what to do. If you don't tell the camera, it doesn't know. It kind of gives you this weird little fisheye thing. But it doesn't distort too much. I actually have some sample footage a little bit later, so stick around for that. And tell it you want to set up the Max Lens. Make sure you select 2.0. It's a little easier to do this in the app. And it gives you some unbelievable stability. Here's sample footage. Hey, what are you doing over local politics? So they are also victims of the. This is me. This is Felicia. Now I'm going to shake the camera and go back and forth like crazy like this. I think everyone and it should be fairly stable, right? We got wind blowing. The NGOs leading up to the 2021. Go ahead and say something.
Go ahead and say something. How you doing?
Let's pull it back here. You should be able to hear this very clearly due to this directional microphone.
I like it.
This is the wind. Look, the dog is doing things.
Space is pretty much to yeah,
you shouldn't be able to hear any wind noise in this microphone. You hear any wind noise?
I hear nothing right now.
To the regime.
Listen to it. See what it sounds like.
Acceptable.
This is the GoPro Hero 12 Black Creator Edition.
Unless they,
and it's
awesome.
So we're testing the microphone on the media mount here. So I want to get really close to it and get really loud and see if there's any distortion here, if I'm yelling into it. Or if I pull back here, can you still hear me? Or if I bring it back here, we're about 2 feet away, as far as my arm can.
I think this is not acceptable, and then
and it's directional.
We see what comes out of that, whether it's going to expel them or see their activities. That would be something that would be also.
This is actually an impressive microphone considering the price of this media mount. It actually resembles some of my $1,000 shotgun mics. It's very impressive. I have the foam screen on.
All kinds of
I have the foam screen on.
citizenry activism has
Foam screen is off. Does it make a difference? Can you hear me? Is it any better? Let's be quiet for a second.
Bail it. Think of
very quiet in here. It's
for a peaceful demonstration or advocate for anything locally, including the journalists or the bloggers or the
yeah, it's a great mic. The media mount, definitely a worthwhile investment. It does cut out a lot of wind noise. I took it on a bike ride with wind in my face, and I heard I didn't hear all this. Let's try that.
Political
going directly into the mic without this. Let's put it back on.
How about this individual? It is not.
He actually illegally passed a car. So this is a test of the media mount microphone on the GoPro Hero Black 12.
We can bring back.
How's it sound to you?
Society. So, yeah, I think there's no safer way. The only safer way would be.
Finally got my hands on a Hero 12 Black Creator Edition. I know they've been out for a while. I just got mine. I purchased this with my own money, so this is not a paid review. Let's see what's inside.
Bolder ones are still talking about these things. Still.
Right, nice little carrying case here. I definitely think I'm going to keep this
most of the
here
bloggers are probably predominantly within the diaspora, but this is something. From say the safest would be being digital and then getting the message out to the people out there. But on the ground, it's pretty much like signing your death certificate, or probably the best case scenario being in prison. So, yeah, we find ourselves in this conundrum of ongoing impunity from the hands of General Museveni.
This looks like the Getting Started guide. Okay.
Thanks. Over to you, Joe.
So it has that.
Thank you very much, comrade. I agree with you, and the condition, the environment remains very.
There's a ton of stuff.
It is precarious. However, I think the internet is still the best weapon for pushing back.
All right. So
people can use different names. They can use pseudonyms. You don't have to use your own name, and it's still maybe the most effective way for people to mobilize people in the country. It is quite effective, and I think it's remember it's the one that brought about the Arab Spring. So still, even in Uganda, we have a chance if people can be creative.
To be honest,
we don't necessarily putting themselves in harm's way. Of course, we know the regime has the media center that is very aggressive in spewing out propaganda and controlling all narratives about different issues. We have the UCC that actually that is supposed to be independent. It's supposed to be a media watchdog, but instead it's an appendage of the NRM. I think you recall that when Dr. Spire sent on when they're driving this exhibition, information about him and his family was being leaked to the UCC. And no, the UCC was leaking information to the security agencies that put his life at risk, So this is really what is going on. These are supposed to be statutory bodies, but instead they've become they are supposed to work in the interest of citizens, but instead they've become partisan. They work in the interest of Museveni. So, for example, the Computer Misuse Act, this is a law, again, it was a nuisance law, and whose scope was not very clear. So anything you said could easily be interpreted it to mean that you've abused somebody, or it was very arbitrary. And we know that many people suffered. Luckily, again, thanks to the civil society, this law was challenged and it was struck down by the Constitutional Court. But again, the environment is very challenging. So again, we call upon the development partners not to ignore. Really, they must call out the regime and call out all these different instruments.
All right, so right off the
like
bat,
the media center, the
I can
UCC,
tell you that the case
that are supposed to protect the rights
once you remove the
journalists
packaging, you're pretty much just going to throw everything inside here. So it's not, it doesn't have customizable pockets, which
to the contrary,
kind of
they're
sucks,
actually
but
hunting them down.
So
yes,
let's
we
look
really
at
coming to
everything
the
that comes in
final part, which
and
allows
do set this thing up
questions, and then we invite the audience to call in. You have our number. It's pinned out. It's on the flyers. Please call in.
Let's do an unboxing
ask,
on the
or give us your
GoPro Hero
submissions, or
12
give
Black
us
Creator Edition.
This
is a pretty neat little kit, so open to you. We'll get it unboxed here and
finally,
all it has
how the challenges faced by Ugandans reflect
got a nice size
the broader
case.
global trends in press freedom,
Semi-hard case
and
here.
what lessons can other lessons learned from Uganda's situation regarding the protection of press freedom and democracy.
Got all your paperwork up here in the top.
Rebecca, what is your say?
Here is the GoPro Light Mod, and this also has a diffuser on it.
Thank you, Joe, for the question.
We got USB-C rechargeable there for that.
How do the challenges faced by
And
the broader global
this should be the Enduro battery. So this is their new
I
Enduro
think with
battery.
this question, it depends on the part of the globe where you're coming from.
Got the
From
Volta
the development
grip,
partners or
and
the
this also makes a tripod. We'll set it up here in a second. But this is a pretty neat little product. It's a battery grip, built-in battery. Also has your controls right on it.
And there is also freedom of
got the Media Mod,
people have access
which
to
is something I've been
information.
looking forward
But
to
then
getting
in
for a while. I've had a
countries
Hero
where
9 Black for
the-
several years
the
now, and I keep saying I'm going to get a Media Mod and hadn't yet.
Exists,
But finally went ahead and got it with this one.
continuously,
Really neat accessory.
goes ahead. But
And
what
then
lesson
we
can we get
have,
from
if I can get it out of here,
suppression of the media or
the
social
new
media and the abduction
Hero
of
12 Black itself.
bloggers in
Looks like some little
Uganda.
paper on the screen to protect
I
it all.
guess we see how powerful
Stickers. They're gonna be
social
trying to get
media
off,
is
apparently.
in giving out information, in the distribution of information. It's really a very
Of course, they put a sticker on it that's trying to get off.
big element in transmission of
Right, you can
information.
see this one, the case has kind of some
to
speckles
all
in it.
the journalists out there, they need to also continuously embark
Is that
on
open?
social media.
Now,
and,
one neat
also
feature
be
about the 12
driven
Black
to continuously
the other models didn't have is you still have the flip
give the
down
information out there.
tabs to use your
Because,
standard GoPro
much
mounts,
as
but this
we
actually
see
has a
in
quarter 20
Uganda,
thread
the
mount,
government
so you can
tries
mount
to
this just
cut
by
all
itself
in,
right on a tripod
they
with no
put
extra
VPN
adapters.
for
Really nice
the
little feature.
Facebook
Let's
access.
see what else we
They
have
went
in
ahead
here.
to impose attacks
Whoa.
on social media, but still people can
Oh, they
still
include
maneuver in
the other
different
battery
ways
door that
to
you can plug in
have
through, it looks
access
like.
to social media and transmit information
Got
there.
your little
So
mount,
the
the fingers
journalists,
and a cold shoe on
especially
it.
from the developed countries, they need to condemn the
Got
practices
your wind
that are being done
sock thing here
in the
for your
suppression of the
Media
media
Mod.
or journalists, but also
Got a little hard plastic in there and then the
engage
foam
these
around
media,
it.
these
Snaps on pretty
journalists
good there. Seems like it'll
who
stay
are
put pretty well.
victims of these atrocities from the dictators to
Got a couple
engage
charging
them further
cables,
to see how
a
they
couple
can
little
use these social
bolts
media
there. You've got the little curved
platforms.
mount
And
and
we can also
a
see
couple
that
of your GoPro
there
mounts
is
there.
more and more censorship on social media. For
Let's get this
example,
all
there are
kind
several
of set up
terms
and
that
put
you're not
together just
supposed
to
to use.
see how it looks real quick.
If at all
All right, let's take a look at it since I've got it all kind of put
they
together.
can
This is everything you get in the
continuously
creator kit, you
do
know, as
their
far
work
as the usable
diligently
stuff. It
and
does have some
serve the
extra
masses
small parts, but
that they
got our
are
light mounted on top of our
serving.
Media Mod. It's got a power button here on top.
Thank you, comrade. I agree with
Hold
you.
it. It's
That
got
is the
several
only
different
tool
settings. You
of
can hold
choice
it
that we
to turn
have
it
for
on and off
pushing
and then press
back.
the button, change the settings.
There is,
Got our mic set up on our
there is
Media
no
Mod,
other means.
and then you can
It
also
is
run an
very
external mic
effective
if you'd rather.
if
It
we
does have a
can think
3.5
outside
millimeter
the
jack, so
box
you no
and
longer
we
have
can
to have
mobilize.
the
We can
audio
create
adapter if you're
social
using the Media
social
Mod.
movements, really. And
And then on the the grip here.
Collaborate
you got a little cold shoe or a little
in a very effective way.
GoPro mount that pops out, and your little cold shoe
job
comes
so
with. We'll
far.
mount on that.
Look at the.
And then you've got your controls, of course. Now this does swivel.
The mobilization tours that our
it has a
president has
detent
been
that locks
running.
it. And then
That has
you
been
can
our
simply fold
insurance.
these out.
That has been our defense. Without
And
that,
you've got
I think
a nice little tripod to use when you want to use it as a tripod.
Granted,
Otherwise,
still
it's extremely
things
comfortable just to
happen,
hold
but I
in your
think
hand.
like
And it does have
now
a little wrist strap
they
on it,
know they
so
are
if you
being
need that,
watched,
do
so
it
there's a
where you might
level
drop
of
it.
restraint.
Pretty nice little setup.
I think we saw the last time even when our police officer had to hide his name tag because we know that this regime the way it uses
Hero 12, the best action camera I've ever seen.
But when
it's
it
not the
comes
creator's
to the
edition.
crunch,
It comes with a little LED light, which is rechargeable. Here's your battery. It comes with one battery. You can buy multiple battery packs if you want to. And look at all the rest of the stuff for mounting it virtually anywhere. It also comes with a cage too, so you can mount it on the handle. This handle actually acts as a charging mechanism, which is very cool and it's super comfortable in your hand. So you can charge your GoPro and run all day with this thing. Highly recommend a high endurance card. It's going to be able to handle a lot of writes and rewrites and high and low temperatures. And it goes in your camera this way with the gold tips kind of facing the lens. So a lot of people don't realize that and they try to shove it in there. It also comes with Rescue Pro too. I'm hiding the serial number there too in case you need that. So you can synchronize it with the app, which works with Android or your iPhone, and it will automatically download your videos and pictures to your phone, and then you can do editing in your phone, which is what we're doing right now. So here's what it looks like on the stand. The handle is actually charging, so this is great. I'm really looking forward to this. I won't need to swap batteries and charge it, like a one-time charge for the entire day. And it is USB-C chargeable, includes the cables, plugs right into the handle, and then this little extension cord goes right into, I have the cage on there now too, and it passes through and actually charges your GoPro in the cage. The indoor footage is amazing. If you've seen it before, it goes all the way up to 5.4K, which is insane resolution. I don't even think they have displays for that yet. And here's what it sounds like. Checking this microphone. I'm all up on the microphone now. Now I'm away from the microphone. Is it like squirrely?
Current scenario. So I would think that
it is unbelievable. We're just shooting at 4K. I can't imagine what 5.4K HDR looks like. We have this newer clamp for our electric bicycle, and we decided to take that out on a ride to see what this guy could do and screw it right into our handle.
It's the same thing. They don't have any freedom of expression, so there's nothing good.
Listen, no wind noise. That's crazy. And the image stabilization, top notch. This is amazing. Hero 12 Black Creators Edition, highly recommend.
Of the press. So we need
and look at us.
And they, of course, there's nothing to learn from us. So
the wind is
I think
blowing.
what we need to do is to be more creative, as you said. People being creative. I think they're really good, sophisticated cameras with some of these.
Right, so I've got wind blowing in my face.
There on the market.
Part of it's going into the microphone.
Very
right over some bumpy stuff here. See how the stabilization is. And hopefully you can hear my voice over the cars, traffic, and wind. And this three-wheel motorcycles.
We have some really good gadgets out there which are going to do probably a tremendous good.
Comrade Mugisha Hafizu writes, remember we're dealing with a junta. There is no constitution for citizens in Uganda, but a constitution for a few people. That is why laws don't suit them. That is why laws that don't suit them are amended on a daily basis. Exactly. They make laws that serve their agenda. Very right. Yeah. Dropout 100% rights. Here are 5 ways social media might end up making authoritarian states stronger. Making it easier to persecute people who support protest movements, exactly using, for example, the Computer Misuse Act, by acting as an early warning system for public discontent, exactly. So they pick the the signals and then crush the public or the people, making government communication more successful. Yeah, exactly. Allowing regimes to gauge public opinion effectively, muddying the water finally. Even if social media doesn't quite do all the above, it can do a great tool to muddy the water of public discourse. And ladies and gentlemen, these are our comrades. Here we see Faustin Masava, who was abducted and is still in incarceration. Here we have Comrade Batoke, Boss Lutalo, but actually also known as Batoke. He was abducted, but he came out some days back. Yes, so this is what is going on, and we continue to fight for the freedom of our comrades, and not just these comrades, but other prisoners of conscience, you know, political prisoners who have been incarcerated purely because they've spoken truth to the power. Information we have the abducted. That is why we are still demanding for the abducted few. 18. So this is what we are demanding from this regime. Being in opposition is not a crime and the parcel of the system. Speaking out your mind, it is your right. It is not a crime. Remember, we are dealing with that. We have the abducted 18. We are still demanding free all the political prisoners. So to free all prisoners are demanding from this regime. Being in opposition is not a crime. We welcome your calls. Speaking out your mind, you're free to call. It is your right. You can also crime. So anyways, as we go to a close, we call out the dictator. Maybe we'll just close with the political prisoners. To something that prisoners been happening. Corruption in Uganda. Please, as I said, we welcome your sanctions on Speak Among. Her husband, you're free to call, but you can also write to. Anyways, as we draw to a close, yeah. Maybe we'll just Lieutenant General Peter Erwero and others on something that, of course, has been happening and human rights. Corruption in Uganda. So I think the US government imposed sanctions on Speak Among with very husband Google ministers they were a little bit Agnes Nandutu out of step with the normal, but it was Lieutenant General Peter Erwero very well others on the part corruption of the US and human rights. And we really think so. There are many more. The sanctions on Erwero were equal with very of course. Well, the problem were a little bit. I mean, as much as this was highlighted as a problem, but it was. We say that very welcome. This problem, it was a very was not sufficiently addressed of the UN, in the state, and we really think the union. There are many things actually the dictator must be. Just made it very obvious that he has no political will. The problem, corruption. I mean, as much as this was highlighted, how are we going to work with these people? We say that he's talking of granting them was not sufficient. But how do you grant them amnesty without even investigate the union? You know, anything actually the dictator allegations that have been made just made it very obvious that he has no political will to end. And we really think that is why the EU must come in. How are we going to work with these people? Museveni, he's talking of granting them amnesty. Because how do you grant them amnesty without even investigating? You know, the crime, the allegations that have been made. It's the human rights abuses. This is very, very disappointing. Press freedoms that have been. And we really think that is why the EU must come in. And in ending, and what is your take, Museveni and cohorts? Because they absolutely have no political will in ending. Rebecca, are you ending corruption? But it's not just corruption, it's the human rights abuses, it's the press freedoms that are being trumped on. So in ending, what is your take,
when the US,
Rebecca?
the UK came out to sanction these corrupt officials in Uganda and
Rebecca, are you muted?
Committed atrocities.
Check. Are you muted?
To the Uganda.
I was muted.
In conclusion, because you could also see that it was a good gesture when the US, the UK came out to sanction this, if we use that example to the officials in Uganda and that people who have committed atrocities international bodies to the Ugandans and we should the Western continuously demand for that come out the EU also and that it has they pass the regime itself sanctions onto these in conclusion if we know that example to the topic today and that they've really the international bodies, the UN to the media and the other Western governments what much as we've seen the sanctions coming to these other videos, they have not really touched the big elephants sanctions onto these videos. So let them we know put away the hypocrisy and they've really stand to what they believe in a lot and to the media they sanction the real because with what much as we've seen the sanctions coming to these other videos, they have not really touched the big elephants, but it's a whole this crackdown on a system that has put away the hypocrisy. They
thank you, Comrade Robert. What is your take on
what they believe in and
on the corruption
they sanction
the corruption, the human rights, and the fact that the dictator Museveni actually did not address the salient issues, the substantive issues. That is what we expected him really to address. Thank you, Comrade Robert. What is your State of the Nation address? Instead, he casually just corruption, the human rights, and the fact that the dictator Museveni actually did not address the salient issues. His speaker has been some issues. He should have. That is what we expected him to address. Way forward, instead of he has been defending address from Nigeria. He casually and recently at Colorado casually just rushed. What is your take? A very important subject. Of corruption.
Let me start on something.
His speaker has been sanctioned. He should have. People expected him to address that. The way forward. Instead, he has been defending from Bukeria in State House and recently at Colorado. What is your take?
If you missed it, I think the let me start on something which probably we didn't touch upon, or we should probably had a concerted effort to try going back to the barrier of NEOP UK-based Ugandan. I think if you missed it, I think the incumbent trying to use human rights group, the rights of the journalists, the press, have had a concern, which is really disturbing, because I think they know that they have a NEOP as a freedom of press, and for some reasons they state some people trying to abuse that human rights during that barrier, the rights of the journalists, the press. Which is really disturbing, because I think they know that they have a beaten by the new using security freedom of guards, which is really for some reasons they state some people saying to put yourself after that barrier during that barrier. Again, this goes back to the way I think how did they believe that their reputation is beaten by the and now they're trying security guards damage, which is really by the image of because they feel that put yourself into to equalize this. Again, this goes back to the human rights or press. They believe they have lost trust. Their reputation is gone, and now they're pretty much to get someone as damage or paint by the image perpetrator, because it's really tacky. To equalize this, concentrate on trying to human rights or press get their press their team in the right line is to pretty much to accord the journalists the right they have, irrespective of whether they are which is really tacky. State function. They should concentrate on trying simple. It's really to get there in our constitution. The journalist line is to be why try to cover up the journalists the right they have, irrespective of whether they are bad image of another state function, which pretty much is already on the right side of the law. Simple. So it was really Turkey. It's really written in the regime for you. If you are the journalists out there, that's what you're expected to do. Why are they trying to cover up doing a lot of these things? So in terms of a bad image of another, I think corruption, you've seen it, which they're driving pretty much is already on the right side of the law. So it was really Turkey, but again, that's the regime for you. If you are a dictatorial regime, that's what you're fidgeting and they're putting out papers which are trying to validate things that it was. So in terms of corruption, I think corruption, you've seen it, they're driving this signature of the people for those who are really trying to compromise narrative that within the service hour, as they call it, they're fidgeting and they're writing out papers which are trying to validate. I think for new as a party it's all about it's passed in the right channels, which it wasn't. And could have for those who are really trying to push that narrative that as the commission service hour, as they call it, party would have advised the right channels at the time when it was. I think for no, when it was up as a party, it's all about integrity. The receiver, that this is what is going on. Could have come out before we came out with something which has been this. Was it the Twitter? Party would have advised Twitter campaign. At the time when it was passed, again, when it was approached, they're fidgeting with a lot of, you can't fight the truth. The receiver, if it was that this is what is going on, until given out before the right, we came out with channels, it will still be that. So it was in the Twitter, fidgeting with papers, trying to campaign, share stuff on the internet. Again, wrong is they're fidgeting with a lot of the party side. I think it's all about integrity. If it was, so he could have taken the money, the right, but at the end of the day, what were you taking it for? What were you being paid for? So let them stop pretty much with papers, trying to pass your share stuff on the internet. What was wrong is wrong. And from the party side, I think it's all about integrity. So he could have taken the position, but at the end of the day, what were you taking it for? What were you being paid for? It's really much not even. It doesn't come. It doesn't. It's your time. Whether there was, it was given in good faith. What was it really? Doesn't come down. They, as someone who has integrity. To be getting in a position, incumbent, you're fighting that award. So it's really. I think they're still struggling to validate. It doesn't come. It doesn't. Award. Whether there was, and again, it was given in good faith, is not. You're surprised. Really, it doesn't. General Museveni is still as someone who has integrity. He still doesn't getting an award from. He still doesn't call out these people. So, and one time I think they're still struggling to validate IGP looking into the matter. They have the commission award, and it's still. And again, not. You're surprised. Like General Museveni is still wrong. So. He still doesn't get. I'm pretty sure he still doesn't call out these people. And one time he says, okay, the signature IGP, they're just on the receiving end. We have the commission, and he's still calling out not the receiver. And that was done. Like whatever is going wrong is wrong. I think it is being initiated by the incumbent. I'm pretty sure Monday is not the one there. And our people have started this campaign of able to commit to signing the signature, but they're just on the receiving the end. They did their part, calling out, settled the receiver, and that was done. Again, whatever is going on, what do you expect? It is that's being initiated by the incumbent, the government.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have somebody on Twitter Space who is actually going to ask a question. Mr. Matovu, please go ahead and give us your submission.
So again,
please unmute and speak to us. Thank you.
That's General Museveni for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have somebody on Twitter Space who is actually going to ask a question. Mr. Matovu, please go ahead and give us your submission.
Loud and clear.
Great. Please unmute and speak to us. Shoot, comrade.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Lucas in South Africa.
Yeah, audible comrade. Yes. Robert, do you hear? Do you hear?
Yeah.
Rebecca, do you hear?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Great. Shoot, comrade.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Lucas. We need to South Africa. I'm so happy to hear you. No problem. You know, most of the media houses capture part you play and is control of now regarding this. But as our principal saying, press we came out with a solution. We that we need to continue using our accounts. There is no freedom in Uganda. If I know most of the media houses push on the communication or information regarding the struggle. But as our these are changes, and we must have came out with the solution. Uganda said that we are concerned to continue using our account strategy, social media, and I think in different platforms to push on the communication or information regarding the struggle and all the activities. And we most of the citizens of Uganda who are concerned. The data strategy and I think is working well. We can control the media in Uganda, but in other chapters, for example, this one, solving the issue and the local one, I should suggest that most of the chapters should be consistent in their activities wherever they are in the whole world. So that's seen as we can expose, for example, everything that's going on in Uganda, the oppression and the injustice so on. So we should suggest that most of the chapters should be consistent in their activities wherever they are in the whole world. So that's my mark. We can expose to everything that's going on in Uganda, this oppression.
Thank you, Comrade Matu. As always, indeed, any effort and every effort really counts. And I really think we've got to keep up the pressure, and we can see the results, the outcomes of our demonstrations, of our social media activism. We can see the sanctions. We can see, indeed, the regime has become pariah. It has been isolated. And I really think we've got to keep up the pressure to mobilize. And we just wish more people engaged, because the power of the internet is really of our social media activism. I think we underestimate sanctions. I just wished more people engaged. The regime so far we are seeing pariah. It has been isolated. Let's continue to mobilize, and we just wish more. I think that is engaged. That is because the power of the internet is that will be the weapon of choice. We cannot. It doesn't necessarily put them in harm's way, but of course, I just wished more people engaged. How they engage, but it's so far we are seeing the results. So thank you. Let's continue to engage. Anyone else? Sarah, would you like to come in? That is the 70. You've been there. That would be the weapon of choice. Questions. It doesn't necessarily put them in harm's way, but of course, they have to be careful what they do and how they to air your views, how they engage. We really now still remains. We're wrapping up. We shall be closing. But thank you. If you have an opinion, please feel free to express. Sarah, would you like to come in? I see you. Well, you've been there as we wrap questions. I think if you have any insights, you're welcome to seeks to engage. The EU really now seeks to engage. We're wrapping up. We shall be closing. In particular, the EU Council, the EU Commission, the EU Parliament, but above all, the citizenry. Well, comrades. As we think this conversation is very, very important. Let me rate because the EU is a big player. Seeks to engage, the EU seeks to engage the EU institutions, in particular the EU Council, the EU Commission. So we feel it has leverage on the regime EU. Really, they call it out. We think this conversation is very, very important. And like we said, because EU is they cannot claim to uphold, development, democratic principles and values on the one hand, whilst as far as our development budget is working with the dictator. So we feel it has leverage on the regime. If really they call it so out, they must put preconditions. They will, for them, like we said. For them, they cannot. They think they must deal with Museveni. Let them put preconditions. Democratic principles and values on religiously support. They are promoting a dictator has been in power for 39 years in town, and that needs to be resolved. So they must put preconditions. It is time for them put some demands and call for them accountability. If they think they must deal with Museveni, let them put preconditions. They cannot just religiously support. As we wrap up, a dictator has been in power for 39 years, and let's start with 9 uninterrupted years. It is time they really put some demands and call for accountability. So it is very, very important. Comrades, as we wrap up, I would like you now to make your closing remarks. Let's start with Comrade Rebecca Nava. Over to you, Comrade Rebecca. Thank you.
To the task of answering these questions. Where does your taxpayers' money go? And if at all it gets there, what does it do? It's high time that you join the struggle to see where your money goes. Otherwise, the atrocities or the blood that is shed every day is also on your hands. To the task of answering these questions. Where does your taxpayers' money go? Where you pay taxes, and if at all it gets there, what does it do? For such it's high time that you out there, struggle. Let's continuously demand the release of where your money goes. Otherwise, all social media bloggers and let's continuously engage is also on your hands.
Apologies. Yes, I was muted. Oh, sorry.
From your pockets, where you pay
the space had muted. I apologize. It was not intentional. Out there, please carry on.
Continuously demand Rebecca. The release of all political prisoners. Let's continuously demand and let's continuously engage the release of our
apologies. Yes, I was muted. Oh, sorry. Never. The deputy space had muted. I apologize. It was not intentional. Please carry on, Comrade Rebecca.
They also get let's continuously demand the release of our comrades. So let's continuously engage the partners, our local politicians.
Thank you, Comrade. Finally,
the EU Parliament.
Robert Kitunzi,
let's put it to a task,
closing remarks, please.
Thank you. They also get involved in this struggle to
Joe, thanks for today and for today's episode.
Thank you so much for tuning
thanks
in
for joining us. And we needed a female touch on our
finally
demonstration. I think
Robert
people were getting worried. Is it
closing remarks, please?
Thank you. Male-dominated panel. Yes, we need to bring in a few ladies on this program. And I really episode. Nava, thanks for joining us. We needed a female touch on our. We really need to drive demonstration. I think there has to be some. People are getting worried. Is we don't have to be a male-dominated as and when we need to bring in for us as ladies on this program earlier. And I really, my team, we have devoted ourselves at least to this every Sunday. Who's coming? Take at least 1 really need to drive 2 hours every Sunday. There has to be some consistency. We don't have to whereabouts of the 18 as and when we please. So for us, as elections, I mentioned earlier, were being with my team, we have devoted ourselves at least to this every Sunday. And take at least 1.5 hours, 2 hours every Sunday. They advocate for the release of our social media activists and 2021 elections to advocate for those who are being and also to ask the incumbent of General reason to stop this advocating for the abducting journalists or press the release of personnel. They really need to do their job, and we should have a functioning society. The society needs to get the right and also data ask the incumbent General Museveni to make great decisions about how the society functions. Abducting, they really need that information. So they need to stop on personnel. They really need to do their job. If the information should have a functioning society, the society needs to get the right data. We also would like to mention a few activities coming out as how the society functions. We intend to do this. They really need that information. So we've also they need to devote it ourselves down on the a demonstration, the information every month within the country. This is not different. We also, different would like to areas in the region is coming up. As I said, we intend to do this month on a weekly basis. I call upon all also European devoted ourselves to do Ugandan background, a demonstration, one demonstration every month at the end of the month. Go out there and demand different release in all the whereabouts chapter areas in the region, in the EU. People, we intend to demonstrate at the end of this month. To mention about, I call upon all Mambia was abducted around the same time as Masaban. He wants to support your respective chapter. Go out there, demand for the any release or the whereabouts of the 18. We also send our sincere condolences to one of our security guard to mention about Mambia was abducted around the same time as Masaban. He works, I think, with the team. Story about Kaboko. He was abducted with the NUP. Was arrested. He was incarcerated. He was in prison. Send our sincere condolences to one of our security guard. God knows Kaboko was who passed away mysteriously when he was incarcerated. Mysteriously, he passed away. So we send our condolences about Kaboko. He was abducted. Families was arrested. He was incarcerated. He was in prison, and he's a very young, very energetic guy. Bobby Young, Bobby Young. This is the second time they are arresting him. When he was incarcerated before, mysteriously he passed away. So we send our condolences to his in detention families. We do really advocate for his release or raised in peace, and it will never be forgotten. If they can't Bobby Young, so Bobby Young. This is the second time they are arresting him. They've abducted him before. Now he's still this is something which in detention has nothing to do with this. Really advocate for his release. Say it here because it has nothing to do with it. If they can't I'll convict do it in another space. I think that's pretty much it. So for those who have been
byebyo ndowooza owulidde emisango generali Museveni gyali mukola ku bannayuganda ebyo byonna byongera kufayiringa misango na bujulizi mu kkooti y'ensi yonna. Bannayuganda abatulugunyizibwa abateekebwako ebikolobero emisango generali Museveni gyali mukola ku bannayuganda ebyo byonna byongera kufayiringa misango na bujulizi mu kkooti y'ensi yonna. Emisango egigenda gyeyongera okupayiringa mu kkooti y'ensi yonna. Bannayuganda abatulugunyizibwa abateekebwako emulugunya bannayuganda ebikolobero akolebwako ebikolobero Eno Museveni mwena abaliko bavunanyizibwa n'obutafa ate n'aba bakolako ebikolobero gy'emisango egigenda gyeyongera okupayiringa mu kkooti y'ensi yonna era nga alina okugisasulira. Lwaki atulugunya bannayuganda, lwaki akola ebikolobero bannansi ate balina okukuuma. Kale mbaagala nnyo mwenna abaliko